Coming up, we're going to go ahead and broadcast Sam Schweitzer versus Chuppa Cross. We're going to go ahead and pull up the player cards right now.
Two really great players. Excited to see what we get here. I see Chuppa's slide coming up first.
And you see there, Chuppa has a top 4 in the 2016 regionals that we broadcasted from St. Louis, finished top 32 in the 2015 national championships, and won a regional back in 2011, following up with a 2014 second place finish. He's going to be running a team of Salamence, Cresselia, Kyogre, Groudon, Thundurus, Incarnate Form, and Amoonguss, and Chuppa already has his World's Invite.
Yeah, so you're just playing for more championship points. I mean, there's a big difference between getting that day 1 invitation to the World Championships and a day 2, especially because that comes with the Travel Award. You know, he's coming from the opposite side of the country as a native of the New York area, so definitely wants that Travel Award to fly over to the World Championships in San Francisco. Also kind of cool to see his team. You know, we did see him on stream the last time we broadcast, but he changed his team up a little bit. Now, without that Ferrothorn, instead using both Thundurus and Cresselia to support his team.
Yeah, and, you know, Amoonguss is just a great Pokemon. A lot of players, they are starting to kind of build slower, bulkier teams, you know, more Trick Room-based teams, and Amoonguss is a very good Trick Room counter because you punish them for setting up the Trick Room. Hey, something's going to sleep the next turn, right? Yeah,
I think it's really strong, and I kind of like that he's chosen to go with only Amoonguss. He had the weird Ferrothorn and Amoonguss thing last time, which a lot of players are actually doing, but I feel like it just makes Team Preview really tough where you kind of want them both in the same matchups, but you almost never want both of them. So I think he gets a little bit better variety with his team this way.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing you really want to see is bring Ferrothorn and Amoonguss, and then your opponent just kind of leads Groudon, and it just erupts all over your team, and that's just terrifying to see. We're going to go ahead and pull up Sam Schweitzer's player card right now. Sam, a player that actually needs a top 4 finish here to be able to qualify for day 1 of the World Championships. We see his finishes right here. He has a couple 2016 regionals top 16s and a 2015 regionals top 8. He'll be rocking the team of Kangaskhan, Xerneas, Groudon, Zapdos, Cresselia, and our favorite Smeargle.
Smeargle, always a popular option. Once again, last round, we're kind of seeing Smeargle finding ways to lose games. It just seemed like Smeargle was living right the first time we did a stream in this format, and this weekend it's just having a rougher go, I guess. Really happy to see that Zapdos, though. I think it's Pokemon we should have seen a little bit more of this year. We saw it last week in the UK, and now a few players trying it out here. I think it's really good, and it should be an important part of this matchup.
Yeah, and, you know, Zapdos is always one of those Pokemon. A lot of players, they always opt for that Thundurus, but then for some reason, you know, players tend to go back to Zapdos. You know, it has access to Tailwind. It has, I believe, the same special attack, but it's natural. Oh, no, it's actually not naturally faster, but it's naturally bulkier.
Yeah, I mean, I think that matters, too. I mean, Tailwind gives you such a giant speed boost that when you use it, it kind of doesn't matter what your speed was before. And, you know, Tailwind's really effective in a world where Groudon is on so many teams. You can't paralyze it, but you can certainly outrun it with Tailwind.
Yeah, and it does get access to the Heat Wave as well, which is very good for the Ferrothorn matchups, just in case Ferrothorns are just running around everywhere. The players are ready, and we are so hyped here for this third match of the top 8 of the Madison Regional Championships. We're going to go ahead and jump right into it right now. Sam, he already has his hat backwards. He's ready to play. He's ready to send out his Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, we've learned that, you know, that's the key to Pokemon, right? You spin around, then you're serious. So Sam is locked into this matchup.
Yeah, and again, you know, the teams, Sam, you can see on screen Cresselia, Kangaskhan, Groudon, Xerneas, Smeargle, and again, that's Zapdos. Probably one of my favorite of the trio birds. Chuppa off-screen going to be running Salamence, Thundurus, Kyogre, Groudon, Cresselia, and Amoonguss. So, you know, interesting teams from both players. You know, we kind of see the 2 best cores, Groudon, Xerneas versus Kyogre or dual primals.
Yeah, I think this one can definitely go either way. I'll be interested to see how they choose to play this matchup. A lot of the players on the dual primal side have been choosing not to bring Kyogre into this matchup. I don't know if Chuppa will go that option or not. I think you can choose to bring Kyogre, you just have to play a little bit more carefully with it. But, you know, it's one matchup where both sides kind of have to consider whether or not it's really a good idea to bring all the restricted Pokemon or not.
Yeah, and, you know, that really comes down to that Smeargle being on the field for Sam because, you know, once you have the primals out, they can't carry anything that really prevents sleep, barring a Pokemon on Chuppa's side having Safeguard, but it doesn't look like it here. As we go ahead and get ready now, we're jumping into it. Groudon and Cresselia leads for Sam, and Chuppa going to go ahead and lead Thundurus and the Groudon. Both Groudons right now are going to go ahead and revert back to their primal forms, going to give it the really powerful stats, you know, in the fire typing.
Yeah, it's kind of like the quintessential matchup here of the middle of the VGC 2016 season. Where earlier in the year we might have just seen like Smeargle Xerneas and Kangaskhan Xerneas or something. I think now this is kind of where the format has moved, where Groudon and Kyogre are kind of the two big offensive Pokemon. Thundurus and Cresselia may be the two biggest support Pokemon. So as that matchup we'll see a lot of. Advantages both ways, though, as we talked about before in the pregame, Zapdos would certainly be a lot more effective than Thundurus here against a Groudon, whereas not a whole lot that Thundurus can do. So maybe advantage to the Cresselia side on turn 1.
Even though that was only, players sending in their Groudons, some information has already been revealed. Sam's Groudon actually reverted first, so that might mean that, the Groudon on Sam's side is a bit faster. As Thundurus goes for the taunt onto the Cresselia, it's not going to be able to go ahead and use its support moves that it loves so much. As Chuppa's Groudon going to go ahead and go for Precipice Blades right now. Going to connect onto that Groudon and do a good amount of damage, bring it down to about 30%. As, Sam's Groudon went for a Stone Edge right onto that Thundurus and picks up the one-hit KO. Great turn 1 for Sam right there. As we go ahead and see Cresselia go for an Icy Wind. Did not fall for that taunt at all and going to go ahead and slow down the Groudon on Chuppa's side.
Yeah, it's one of the great things about Cresselia more recently. I think that taunt on Cresselia would have been more effective earlier in the season, but Icy Wind on Cresselia has definitely been the trend over the last couple of weeks. I was able to slow down that Groudon, and Sam takes a turn 1 Pokemon advantage. We'll see if it actually pays out for him. We do see that Stone Edge move we don't see too frequently, but ducking Thundurus pretty effectively. The only issue, of course, is that the restricted Pokemon tend to be a little bit more important than other Pokemon on the team, and Sam's Groudon took a bunch of damage while he was picking up that knockout.
Yeah, and we do see Cresselia come out from Chuppa's side, and Groudon and Cresselia, they're kind of like a duo. They operate so well together right now.
It's going to be an important turn for Sam now, where he wants to avoid trading another Icy Wind the other way, maybe, or a Trick Room also if Chuppa's Cresselia happens to know that to lose that speed advantage, because he definitely needs to make the most of having gotten that Icy Wind off. Doesn't want to just trade his Groudon now, because if Groudon and Thundurus fainting one for each side, definitely not a good trade for the Groudon side. So important for Sam to maintain this advantage.
We do see Groudon on Chuppa's side protect here as Cresselia going to go for an Icy Wind right here. They're going to go ahead and trade Icy Winds. Icy Wind, the best move in the game right now. Going to go ahead and slow down Groudon and Cresselia on Sam's side. That's going to put the Groudons in the same speed tier at one stage of reduced speed as Groudon go ahead and hits with the Fire Punch onto Chuppa's Cresselia, and Cresselia just goes for another Icy Wind, and Cresselia kind of dodges that one on Chuppa's side.
Yeah, wind not blowing the right direction for Sam in that play, but he does get a bunch of damage at Cresselia, which is important. I think the Groudon both being even now with having both been hit with Icy Wind at once is probably a little unfortunate for Sam where you lost that speed advantage, but it's not like he traded it for nothing. Knocked out Thundurus, did a big chunk of damage to Cresselia now, so even though Sam's Groudon hasn't been able to damage the Groudon on Chuppa's side yet, it has done a lot of damage here, and unlike Chuppa, his Groudon didn't just use Protect, so he does have that option of protecting an Icy Wind and kind of just doing the reverse of the last turn if he wants to.
Absolutely, and we see a lot of mind games here with the Icy Wind, as we see Sam's Groudon now going to protect, not going to want to take either another Icy Wind or anything like that. Cresselia on Chuppa's side going for the skill swap, going to skill swap Levitate onto his own Primal Groudon. Cresselia does get Desolate Land, but it's not going to matter too much as Groudon sets up a free Swords Dance right here, most likely. What is Cresselia on Sam's side going to do? Cresselia goes for another Icy Wind, connects with both, I believe. Gonna hit that Groudon, gonna hit that Cresselia, and now Chuppa's Groudon is at 2 stages of reduced speed, but it does have Levitate.
Yeah, and 2 stages of attack, importantly. Definitely a scary turn if you're Sam here, especially because even if Sam's Cresselia has Skill Swap, he can't really deal with this quickly because his Cresselia also has Levitate right now, and you can't swap Levitate for Levitate. Or I guess you could, but I really wouldn't suggest it. So if you wanted to pull that off of Groudon, you'd have to Skill Swap twice. I don't know if he'll get the opportunity to do that. Chuppa's put himself in a really good position here, and kind of seeing the advantage of Swords Dance, where Sam had to Fire Punch the Cresselia, not having a move like that to take advantage of the free turn, where Chuppa, knowing that Groudon was probably going to protect, could get a lot more out of it.
And Cresselia right now from Chuppa's side, going to go for Thunder Wave, going to connect onto Sam's Cresselia. There's always that chance for full paralysis. We'll just have to see if Cresselia can move. Instead, it activates its Lumberry, going to cure the paralysis. Good information for Chuppa to have as Groudon goes for another Fire Punch on the Cresselia. And Cresselia hangs on with 7 hit points as the Cresselia on Sam's side going to go ahead and go for a skill swap here. So now the Groudons are levitating, Cresselia's on the ground as more Precipice Blades, Precipice Blades from Chuppa's Groudon gonna go ahead and target down the Cresselia, and Cresselia hangs on. Lots of damage has been dealt on this field right now.
Yeah, so I guess we're seeing the advantage of both of these Groudon's third moves. Stone Edge picking up a knockout for Sam, and that Precipice Blades from Chuppa doing huge amounts of damage because of Swords Dance. We do see both Cresselia hanging on there in the red, but Chuppa still has a bit of an advantage. That attack increase on Groudon, very intimidating right now, and Sam's going to find a way to do some damage to this thing. At least he slowed it down enough that maybe his back Pokemon can help out, but going to be very important for him now to try to knock out that Cresselia, get down Chuppa to 2 Pokemon so that he can control the game a little bit better. That 2 Pokemon position is such a big disadvantage of this format. It stops you from switching and resetting weather, doing that sort of thing.
Absolutely. We do see Groudon on Chuppa's side right now. Going to protect itself. Not going to want to risk taking any unnecessary damage right now. As Cresselia on Chuppa's side, going to go for a Gravity here. So those Levitates don't matter anymore. All Pokemon are now back on the field. They are no longer airborne and free to get hit by Precipice Blades as Groudon protects itself from a Icy Wind and a Fire Punch here as Cresselia gonna go for an Icy Wind from Sam's side. Gonna go ahead and pick up the KO on Chuppa's Cresselia, but I think the damage has been dealt. Gravity's out on the field right now. Groudon's at 2 stages of increased attack as we do see Salmon switch in right now. Gonna go for an Intimidate here and intimidate Sam's Groudon.
Yeah, so that's a pretty nice position for Chuppa now. It looks like Salmon's likely with a Hyper Voice could pick up a knockout on both of these Pokemon and bring this game down to 2-2 if it needs to. However, with that Gravity in play, the Levitate ability of both of the Groudon now out of play for the next several turns, and that could be an advantage for Sam, who looked like he was about to lose the Groudon mirror.
Yeah, we see Chuppa's Salamence right now going to go ahead and Mega Evolve. No point in not Mega Evolving here. Salamence does go for the Hyper Voice here, and that should be able to pick up the double hit, double KO. Picks up the KO on Groudon, picks up the KO on Cresselia. Chuppa has free reign, have his Groudon set up again if he really wants to here. We'll see what he does as both Groudon and Cresselia go back to the Pokeballs of Sam, and Groudon goes for another Swords Dance.
He does it, so that's a lot of fun. Groudon now at 4 levels of increased attack. Anything that it connects with Precipice Blades with is probably going to be knocked out at this point. It has been greatly reduced in its speed because of those Icy Winds, but Xerneas is certainly not going to be able to knock out Groudon too easily. But Kangaskhan Xerneas coming from the back. I'm really happy to see this from Sam. I remember the first time he was on stream, that was kind of something we were a little bit critical of, is that he was leading that Xerneas a little bit earlier than maybe he should have. Now, bringing it from the back, that's going to be much more difficult for Chuppa to stop the setup here if Sam chooses to go for it. The only issue, of course, is that he really has to find a way from Groudon, or to stop Groudon from using Precipice Blades, because even one will probably end the game here.
Yeah, and going back a couple turns, those Icy Winds are definitely paying off for Sam, because that gives him, a chance right here, really. Looking at it right now, this Groudon, if it wasn't so slow, it'd be very intimidating.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, too. It'll be interesting to see if Sam can do enough, where Xerneas struggles to deal damage to Groudon. Often people training their Groudon to be a little bit more defensive now. So, if it could survive an attack from Kangaskhan and a Dazzling Gleam from Xerneas after the Geomancy, Chuppa could probably take this one. If not, could go the other way. It's going to be really close.
And we see Kangaskhan Mega Evolve now. The baby is coming out of the pouch, going to get that parental bond ability that makes it so powerful. Groudon on Chuppa's side now, going to protect itself, not going to want to take a Fake Out and take extra damage. Kangaskhan does go for the Fake Out, targeting down that Groudon as Salamence sets a Substitute. And that could be huge right there, because Salamence hiding behind a Substitute is great. Xerneas goes for a Geomancy now, going to activate the Power Herb, going to go ahead and set up 2 stages of increased special attack, 2 stages of increased special defense, and 2 stages of increased speed. Geomancy is probably one of the best moves in the game right now.
Absolutely is, and that Substitute just kind of puts more questions in Sam's head. It was very likely that Salamence was going to be able to get 1 double edge off of Xerneas anyway, but by using Substitute first, it makes this play a lot more complicated for Sam. Normally when you're in a situation like this, it's not going to be like Groudon isn't 1 Precipice Blade isn't going to knock out Xerneas, but since it could here, it's just so much trickier for Sam. It goes for the Moonblast on Groudon.
Does a lot of damage right there. Salamence goes for a double edge right now. Going to target down that Xerneas. Going to do a good amount of damage since it's hitting on the physical side. Bringing it down to about 30% of its hit points remaining. Salamence right now damaged heavily from the recoil as Kangaskhan goes for a Frustration here. Going to target down that Groudon. Groudon's not going to be able to move and use its +4 stages of increased attack.
Yeah, huge power but little speed, and Groudon going down there looks really good for Sam.
Yeah, and the great thing about Kangaskhan is that Parental Bond can break a Substitute and deal a little bit of chip damage right there, too. We see Xerneas now going to connect with the Moonblast here, going to target down that Salamence, going to be able to break that Substitute. What was a good move for Chuppa, unfortunately, is not going to be paying off too much, as it looks like Sam right here should be able to take the game here. Salamence goes for a Hyper Voice, does a little bit of damage to Xerneas, does a little bit of damage to Kangaskhan, and Kangaskhan goes for this Frustration, picks up the KO on Salamence with a critical hit. I'm not sure that mattered too much, but Sam's going to go ahead and take game 1 and moves up 1-0 here in this top 8.
We've seen a lot of comebacks so far, so certainly this series is far from over, but a great start for Sam. I think where Chuppa kind of went wrong in that first game was focusing a little bit too much on increasing his attack on Groudon. Maybe instead of giving up that Swords Dance and switching out to get his speed back could have helped him. The other thing that kind of really hurt, I think, in that game was just protecting that fake out was actually the wrong play.
Right.
You kind of just see, usually it's just kind of your gut reaction as a player, like, oh, well, I know I'm going to get a fake out in this slot. I'll protect to stop the damage. But not having his protect up for that second to last turn of the game made it very easy for Sam to double target Groudon and stop it from attacking. Certainly with 2 Swords Dances, your Groudon's pulling a lot of pressure, right? So you know your opponent wants to go for it. You don't want to give your protect up that easily and make it such a clear play.
Right. At that point in the game, Chuppa had 4 stages of increased attack. Sam had a fake out primed, but then Xerneas wasn't set up yet, right? So you take the flinch right there, you just protect the next turn, and then you do work in that turn, right?
Yeah, at the very least, you make it harder for Sam to double target like that. Maybe he has to use Dazzling Gleam instead and not risk giving up so much. But by both giving Groudon's protect and then not double edging Xerneas, and that was another thing that Substitute may have been the wrong play there, where if a double edge, now if Xerneas attacks Groudon into the protect, Salamence is going to knock it out itself. It's a pretty easy game for Chuppa. 2 things in that play that I think make things easier for Sam instead of harder.
We do see the same leads from both.
The quintessential Groudon mirror here.
Groudon and Cresselia for both sides right now. We're going to go ahead and see Sam's Groudon going to Primal Evolve again, revert back to its Primal version, sorry. Going to bring out the Desolate Land, bring out the Heavy Sunlight, and, this is a team that I'm really familiar with. Cresselia Groudon, I used this back in 2010.
Yeah, really not too much has changed. I mean, Groudon's a little bit bigger and more fiery than it used to be, but a similar concept now. I guess the big difference, of course, is that I'm not too likely to see Trick Room from either of these players. That Icy Wind set that was so big in Liverpool has really made its way over to this side of the ocean, and that makes this mirror very awkward to play. You don't want your Groudon to get slowed down too much. We saw that very much playing into why Chuppa lost game 1. But also you want to pick up this knockout too. I mean, Sam fell behind early because he wasn't targeting Chuppa's Groudon, though he was able to get it in the end. But it could easily have gone the other way. So both these guys are going to try to look for those opportunities to damage Groudon while avoiding the skill swap levitate. Unfortunately for Sam, Chuppa a little too quick on the draw there.
Yeah, we see the skill swap. Groudon on Chuppa's side now going to be levitating. Groudon on Chuppa's side going to go for a Fire Punch here onto the Cresselia. Gets the burn, going to slowly chip away at Cresselia. But of course that Lumberry is there. Going to go ahead and heal the burn. As, Sam's Groudon going to go for a Fire Punch onto the Cresselia, as Cresselia on Sam's side goes for a skill swap, and we see exactly the same thing happen on both sides.
Yeah, kind of a strange play there. I mean, the one thing worth noting is that since Chuppa's team's quicker, if he wanted to, he could have gone for the Precipice Blades on Sam's Groudon, get that hit off, and then potentially tried to skill swap Levitate away this turn before Groudon could move, and picked up that knockout without Groudon ever really having a chance on Sam's side to take advantage of Levitate. Instead, they just trade Fire Punches, and Chuppa is a little bit behind here because he has the quicker, frailer team. Definitely like that turn if I'm Sam, whereas I don't know if Chuppa had the information to take advantage of the strength of his team there.
We do see Cresselia on Chuppa's side now go for an Icy Wind, going to connect on Groudon and Cresselia, going to drop the stages of those Pokemon by 1 stage. We do see Groudon on Chuppa's side go for a Swords Dance. Oh boy, this Groudon now is at 2 stages of increased attack, and we'll see what happens here. Groudon on Sam's side now going to go for a Fire Punch, going to connect on the Cresselia. Is it going to be enough to pick up the 1 hit or the KO? It does pick up the KO, and now Chuppa has lost his main support Pokemon Cresselia, as Sam's Cresselia going to go for an Icy Wind here, going to slow down Chuppa's Groudon here.
Yeah, so both sides are even as far as speed reductions, but Chuppa has the Swords Dance, while Sam has a Cresselia that is still active on the field. Both an advantage and disadvantage of that, of course. You don't normally like giving up Pokemon, but that does allow Chuppa to switch in Salamence here, which gets the Intimidate off on Sam and further increases his attack advantage.
Yeah, and both Groudons are still levitating. They're both in the air. They're floating along with that Salamence right there, and
meanwhile, Cresselia on the ground. Always the weirdness here. I think it's going to be important for Chuppa to knock out that Cresselia. You want to get rid of the opportunity for Sam to make any more skill swap shenanigans. I'm a little bit surprised to see both players not playing that game a little bit more. They just kind of agreed to be flying after turn 1 and just let it stop.
Salamence now going to go ahead and Mega Evolve, going to get the Aerialate ability here, which makes it one of the best Megas in the format, in my opinion. Cresselia now goes for a Helping Hand. We do know that the Groudon has Stone Edge here. Salamence on Chuppa's side going to be content to just set up a substitute and kind of hide behind it as Groudon goes for a Stone Edge. Sam's Groudon connects with the Stone Edge on that Salamence, going to be able to break that substitute. Oh boy, that's a lot of investment into just breaking one substitute right there.
Devastating that substitute, but not a very good trade.
We do see now Groudon on Chuppa's side go for a huge Fire Punch on the Cresselia and picks up the KO, and now both players have lost their Cresselias.
Yeah, I mean, jokes aside, Cresselia wasn't going to get the chance to move there anyway, so just, either switch or take the opportunity that maybe Helping Hand will help. In that case, it was, more of a hand and less of the helping, but still, Sam's going to get a free switch now, just like Chuppa did, and it's Kangaskhan coming in now, pressuring with that fake out.
Yeah, and Kangaskhan doesn't have, it's not intimidated, so that's a huge advantage right there for Sam to have Kangaskhan come in with its attack stat
Yeah, intact still,
intact,
yeah.
yeah.
That's the advantage of his Cresselia feigning second. One good thing for Chuppa is that he does have the option of protecting here. We saw him kind of misplay by protecting when he didn't need to the previous game, but this time, not likely to be too much of it Sam can do to take advantage of that, other than potentially a power-up punch on his own Groudon. So I think it's more likely we'll see the protect this time from Chuppa, unless he wants to try to get tricky guessing on what target's going to take the fake out.
We've seen that happen before, where we've seen a lot of power-up punches on their own Pokemon. They haven't paid out too well from what we've seen on stream all weekend. Kangaskhan now has Mega Evolved. Salamence now going to go for a Hyper Voice here, going to connect on both Groudon and Kangaskhan, bringing them both to about 60% as Kangaskhan goes for a Power Punch on his own Groudon with a critical hit on the first hit. And, double critical hit.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
Kangaskhan trained a little too well in that play.
Rolling really hot right now as Groudon on Chuppa's side. Going to go for a Precipice Blade. It's going to connect on to the Kangaskhan. Lots of damage, picks up the KO, and again, that play does not pay off.
Yeah, I feel for Sam, but big mistake on that play.
Groudon does get a Stone Edge here, going to connect on that Salamence, not going to be able to pick up the KO because of the Intimidate that came in earlier, and oh boy, Sam's in a pretty tough spot right now. Yeah,
I mean, if you want to win a tournament like this one, you've got to be able to take some risks. Unfortunately for Sam, makes the wrong play at the wrong time there, but we've seen him benefit from making some really risky plays, and if he'd hit that, he would definitely have won this game, I think, and moved on to the round of 4, but in a tough spot now. Salamence still active on the field. Sam's Groudon taking a bunch of damage that turn from his own Kangaskhan, critting it twice. And most importantly, Chuppa's faster Groudon, still healthy, still has that levitate ability. Going to be very difficult for Sam to deal with now.
Those crits actually do matter because that put Groudon in range to get KO'd by this Hyper Voice right here. The Hyper Voice does connect, but it does not pick up the KO on Groudon on Sam's side, fortunately, as Xerneas now going to go ahead and go for the Moonblast onto the Groudon, going to do a good amount of damage and going to reduce that special attack stat on Groudon, as Groudon on Chuppa's side going to go for a huge Fire Punch here at two stages of increased attack, going to go ahead and pick up the KO on Xerneas, and huge damage as it's going to be Groudon versus the rest of Chuppa's team. Another Fire Punch from the Groudon on Sam's side to connect onto the Groudon on Chuppa's side, and this is it. This is going to go to a Game 3 right here.
Yeah, I like Chuppa's odds in Game 2. I feel like, 10% Groudon's not going to pull this one out. And we do see the forfeit there, so Chuppa picking up the win, and both sides kind of taking a pretty decisive game so far. They're both close, but there's one big turning point in both games, both involving Kangaskhan, actually.
Yeah, and that power-up punch, that was a good play. High risk, high reward. Didn't reward him there. Maybe he'll pay off later on. Maybe he's going to go for it again. We'll just have to see, because we're going to a Game 3 here in this top 8. Remember, Sam needs his top 4. He needs to win this game so that he can get his Day 1 invite to the World Championships in August in San Francisco.
You kind of have to feel for him a little bit there, where being willing to self-power-up punch, that seems like a great play to send you to the World Championships, right? Really gutsy. Unfortunately, Chuppa's not buying it there, and now we've kind of seen two plays where the first turn Kangaskhan was on the field made a big difference for both players. And with this matchup being so close, again, we've seen this all day, but you've got to make the right read at the right time because you're not winning or losing by much. Both players now made the one game-winning read, and going into Game 3, we'll have to see who makes the big play this time.
Cresselia and Groudon going to be sent out for Chuppa's side. The same leads as he had last game. No Thunders in sight so far. Kangaskhan and Smeargle, oh boy. This is the lead to beat right here in this entire format, in my opinion. Smeargle and Kangaskhan, such great synergy together, as we do see Groudon Primal revert back to its primal form.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Smeargle showing up at clutch situations all year so far. Again, seems to have lost a lot of those situations the last couple of weekends, but maybe this will be Smeargle's moment. Sam choosing to put his tournament fate and his opportunity to make the Day 1 of the World Championships on the line in Smeargle's hands this time.
Yeah, and I think these are decent leads right here. Smeargle has a lot of support options, just like Cresselia does. Obviously, Dark Void is going to be a huge move to look for. The issue with having Primal Pokemon on your team is that those are 2 Pokemon that can't carry Sleep Berries. We do see Kangaskhan now going to go ahead and Mega Evolve. This is going to be a huge turn 1 right here of all the turn 1s to have. For the game that decides whether or not you get to move to the World Championships. Groudon on Chuppa's side, going to protect itself, does not want to take a Fake Out or a Dark Void here. Kangaskhan does go for the Fake Out, going to target down the Cresselia. Good call right there. Good call right there from Sam to target down that Cresselia with the Fake Out. And we see Cresselia flinch, cannot move as Smeargle goes for the Dark Void here. It's going to connect. It's going to put Pokemon to sleep right now. Groudon, of course, protected itself. Cresselia now going to go to sleep. Going to take a little snooze. It's day 2. It's day 2 of the regional championships, but we do see the berry from Chuppa's side. The Lum Berry is going to go ahead and wake it up as Smeargle's Moody is going to activate. Increases the accuracy here. The defense drop's not going to matter too much, but that accuracy increase is better.
Yeah, Chuppa trying to take advantage of that Lum Berry on Cresselia, probably to get an Icy Wind off on both Pokemon so that Groudon can move in time to knock out Smeargle. Not to be had there. Sam makes the right play, uses Fake Out on Cresselia, preventing any of those shenanigans, knowing that Groudon's not very likely just to choose not to protect and allow itself to be hit with Dark Void. No choice now for Chuppa.
And Kangaskhan now going to go for a Power Punch, going to hit that Cresselia. No damage, but the setup is here. Sam's Kangaskhan is going to go ahead and increase its attack by 2 stages here. A lot of power on the side of Sam. We do see Cresselia go for an Icy Wind here, and one of the great things about Icy Wind, it breaks Focus Sash. Gonna go ahead and slow down Smeargle, gonna go ahead and slow down Kangaskhan, and Groudon, I believe, is gonna get to move before that Smeargle. Groudon goes for a Precipice Blades here. Is it gonna be enough to pick up the KO on the Smeargle? And Smeargle does get KO'd, and Kangaskhan hangs on with about 40%. That's why I like Icy Wind.
Yeah, we're seeing again why so many players have shifted toward it. I mean, it kind of looked like after that turn 1, Chuppa was at a tough spot, but even though Sam kind of won the turn in a sense, Chuppa's team was prepared. He led the matchup that's best for him against the Smeargle Kangaskhan lead. He picks the easy knockout on Smeargle up, slows down Kangaskhan and weakens it. And even though Kangaskhan gets that power-up punch with reduced speed because of Icy Wind, it's going to be tough for it to do anything but use a Sucker Punch here. And meanwhile, Xerneas is out. Smeargle's already knocked out. Kangaskhan can't use Fake Out. You see the disadvantage of leading with that Kangaskhan Smeargle lead. Now with the way that Sam's had to play this game, there's not a whole lot left to help Xerneas set up other than the threat of Kangaskhan doing big damage because of that power-up punch.
Yeah, and Xerneas could possibly set up a Geomancy, but I don't think that's the most opportune time, especially considering Groudon could easily just set up because Groudon does not mind facing off against Xerneas at all.
Yeah, lots of bad things could happen if it tries a Geomancy here. Cresselia could just use Thunder Wave on it and slow it down. Groudon could easily just fire off some powerful Fire and Fire Punch and Precipice Blades. Chuppa's put himself in a really nice slot. He didn't allow Smeargle to run free. And now because of that, he's in a big advantage. Kangaskhan likely going to need to go for a Sucker Punch, but Groudon protecting, not risking any damage.
Yeah, and that's, Geomancy from Sam's side, gonna go ahead and set up anyways. I am tripping over my words right here. Again, 2 stages of increased special attack, 2 stages of increased special defense, 2 stages of increased speed. We'll have to see what Cresselia does here. It does have a lot of options to possibly deal with the Xerneas. Maybe a Thunder Wave. It could start slowing it down with an Icy Wind. We'll just have to see exactly what Cresselia does. Goes for the Thunder Wave here. Gonna hit that Xerneas. Gonna slow it down, and of course the chance for full paralysis as well. Good call right there from Chuppa as Kangaskhan uses Frustration, targeting that Groudon slot. Great, beautiful turn for Chuppa.
Yeah, he gets what he needs there. With Xerneas being slowed down now, a number of Pokemon on his team could help knock out Xerneas. It doesn't have to just be Groudon anymore. You never want to give up that Geomancy for free, but even though Xerneas didn't take any damage, being paralyzed is very, very bad. One of the great strengths of Xerneas is that Geomancy both boosts its speed, and its speed is naturally very high, completely negating that advantage now with Thunder Wave, and also introducing that ugly variable that at any given turn, Xerneas may be unable to act.
Yeah, you always hate to see your Pokemon get paralyzed because, not only is the speed drop a huge disadvantage, but there's always that chance that you cannot move due to full paralysis. Cresselia now going to go for a skill swap, going to go for his own Groudon here, going to go ahead and give it the Levitate ability. The Harsh Sunlight does fade, but it's going to go ahead and reset anyways because Cresselia is going to pick up the Desolate Land ability. We do see Groudon go for a Precipice Blades here. Kangaskhan dodges. This is a huge turn right here. This could change the entire match. Connects on the Xerneas here, doing about 50%. Kangaskhan with the Frustration, gonna target down Groudon. Is it gonna be enough? Groudon is very physically bulky. That is not enough, but we do see Xerneas be able to move here. Goes for a Moonblast, gonna connect onto the Groudon, I believe. No, gonna target down the Cresselia. and picks up the KO, and Groudon is actually in Sucker Punch range now.
Yeah, this is a really interesting play on Choppa's side. I was kind of surprised by both of those moves. Thought maybe he'd just go for the Fire Punch and clean up Kangaskhan. He also has the option too with Cresselia if you're going to do something like that with Groudon. I don't know if he super needs Levitate right now. He could have just used Skill Swap on Kangaskhan and taken away that Parental Bond. As it plays out, Cresselia kind of effectively does nothing that turn. Groudon, of course, if Precipice Blades had hit, would have knocked out the Kangaskhan, but it's a risky play. However, Salmon's coming in, getting the Intimidate out, will easily be the fastest Pokemon on the field. Could get actually, no, there's no way Groudon's going to survive a Sucker Punch here. So still a tricky play now where Salmon's is going to have to guess the right target probably.
Yeah, and, Sam does still have one more Pokemon in the back. We haven't seen it yet. It hasn't been revealed yet. So Sam is still in this from a tough spot with a paralyzed Xerneas and a heavily damaged Kangaskhan. Sam is back in it. He's clawing back. He wants this day one invite.
Yeah, he's hanging on really hard here. I think on Choppa's side, the temptation is going to be you protect Groudon, use Salamis to try to pick up a knockout on Kangaskhan here. So we'll have to see how Sam reacts to that being put in front of him. Pending his last Pokemon, you may want to switch out Kangaskhan, be able to bring Fake Out back in because you're going to be very careful what ends up next to Xerneas. If it's something that can't stop Groudon from just using Precipice Blades, there won't be much advantage in Xerneas surviving this turn.
I believe that this is going to be a game-deciding turn right here. Salamit's now going to Mega Evolve, going to get the Aerialate ability, going to be able to do some massive damage on the board. Groudon protects. Did Sam get the read? What is Sam going to do right now? The Kangaskhan goes for a Sucker Punch. Oh, it fails. It's targeted down the Groudon slot, and the Hyper Voice connects onto the Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan gets knocked out. Xerneas hangs on. Could still be punished with a strong Dazzling Gleam. Groudon protects. The important part is that Xerneas was able to bypass that paralysis check, picks up the KO on Salamence, and now is down to 2 Pokemon on each side.
Yeah, both players going to have to reveal their final Pokemon here. We'll see what the advantage is. That quicker Groudon facing down Xerneas, big advantage for Choppa with the 2 Pokemon out in the field, but Thundurus is Choppa's last Pokemon is definitely not something that's going to be advantageous here. You see Sam fist pumping, a little excited to see that. The Thundurus on Choppa's side not going to be able to do much to Sam's Groudon. So for Choppa to win this game, he's really going to need Groudon to pick up a knockout on both of these remaining Pokemon.
Yeah, and we see that Levitate a couple turns ago make a pretty big difference right now because, well, it's not going to make too big of a difference because, Sam can easily target down with a Fire Punch instead to pick up the KO, right?
Yeah, it took a little bit too much damage. I mean, that's why maybe it would have been better to
go for the Gravity.
Yeah, to go for Gravity or to try to get Kangaskhan's Parental Bond away because Groudon's just taking too much damage now. Even a Fire Punch will knock out Choppa's Groudon.
Thundurus goes for a taunt. Groudon on Sam's side is going to move first. Going to go ahead and pick up the KO on the Groudon with the Fire Punch in the sun. Does a good amount of damage. Knocks out the Groudon. And Sam looks so happy. Xerneas goes for a Moonblast. 2 stages of increased special attack. Gonna hit that Thundurus. Gonna bypass that paralysis check and picks up the KO. Sam takes this match here in the top 8, gets his top 4 that he wanted, and now he is qualified for the World Championships.
Yeah, congratulations to Sammy coming out on top in a really difficult series there and sending himself to the World Championships. Big accomplishment just to make it to day 1 of the World Championships, and he can keep going now. Try to become a regional champion. Only 2 more series left to win as he moves on to the top 4, and try to make his way to maybe a day 2 invite instead of just a day 1.
Yeah, and you got to be feeling so much joy for Sam. He was so happy, so elated when he saw that Thundurus come out. Congratulations to Sam for a well-fought victory over Choppa. And they're good friends. Sam is probably a bit proud because I'm pretty sure that we've already mentioned that 3 of the 8 players in the top 8 were actually from New York, kind of coming into the Midwest and invade their regional. So Sam kind of shooing away New York right here.
Yeah, I mean, native of the Midwest, Michigan native actually. So I guess I should be rooting for him. But coming out on top there and playing a really great series. I thought both those guys. It's a tough matchup when every turn is so tense as it was with those guys, especially with the Groudon Cresselia mirror turns. There's so much that can go right and so much that can go wrong every turn there. They both made some pretty good plays throughout the course of that series. But Sam, once again, just like the last time we saw him in one of the last games on yesterday, making just enough plays to get through. Tough series, but Sam's beaten 2 really strong players on stream now, and I think he's definitely one of the favorites moving forward.
Oh, absolutely. And you can't forget about the, what I consider the turning point of Game 3 when he went for that Hyper Voice instead. Did pick up the KO on Kangaskhan, but I think Xerneas was actually the bigger threat in that case. They were both set up, but at the same time, even though Xerneas was paralyzed, Xerneas just has so much pressure.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe I think Choppa would kind of like to go back maybe and look at Game 3 here and think of different ways he could have closed this game. There's a number of things I think he could have done. Like he had the advantage of like 3 or 4 turns left. I feel like knowing Thunder is his last Pokemon, maybe you need to send that out and sacrifice it sooner.
Right.
To try to kind of reset stats on your Pokemon and that sort of thing, because I think it was pretty clear that Sam's last was going to be Groudon. Very unlikely for him not to bring both restricted Pokemon into this matchup. And, I mean, Chuppa could have played it the way he played it if his last Pokemon was Kyogre. But, of course, unlike us, Chuppa knew what his last Pokemon was, and maybe he could have closed that game a little bit differently considering.
Absolutely. Still a well-played series from both. But, hey, guess what, Scott? We got one more top 8 match. This is only the top 8, and we've already gone to 3 game 3s. Guys, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and when we return, the last match of the top 8 here from the 2016 Madison Regional Championships.